Hey guys, it's Johnny again. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're watching this. Hope it's good, whatever. Today I'm going to be bringing you guys with me to work. I wanted to show you guys what I do because I get a lot of questions from family and friends asking me, Johnny, what do you do? And I explain it, but it doesn't really give a good description, a good image of what I really do. So I wanted to literally give you guys an image of what I do today. A small description of what I do: I look for asbestos fibers. Asbestos fibers are really small, they're microscopic generally, not always, but they can be really small if they're in the air, and if you get them in your lungs, it can actually cause irreparable damage. So I go in with this whole suit and mask and filter on the mask to be able to protect myself from the asbestos, and then I go in and I do a final inspection to see if the asbestos has been removed properly. I basically just go in, look, see if it's good. If it's good, I approve of the containment. I set up my my air pumps to filter the air to see if there's any asbestos in the air. I see if there's any visible asbestos on the floor or in the wall or wherever else. And if I don't find anything, then perfect. If I do find something, then I ask them to come back in and clean it up and take care of it for me. So we'll see what I come across today. I do not know what we're gonna find today. Hopefully something interesting for you guys. Hopefully this gives you a good image of what I do for work. So let's go. So I just arrived at my first job for the day, so we're gonna go take a look. I need to ask the DTA, which is DTA in English. That stands for Deskundig Toezichthouder Asbest, which is like the supervisor of the location, if I'm allowed to film here. So I'm gonna ask him that first, and hopefully I'm allowed to film, we'll see. Hey guys, so I just talked with the DTA. He said that I can record this job, so I'm going to be recording as I go, little bits and pieces that I can record. Right now I'm actually going to be setting up for containment. So that means that I grab my pumps. These are the pumps that I used. And then I need to put the filters in. The filters, they go in these things. The air comes in through here and goes onto the filters. And I put the filters right here, which I'm gonna do right now. The filters come in this little container. I grab it with these tweezers, or whatever you want to call them. This is what the filter looks like. Let's see if it can focus. That's what the filter looks like. This side goes facing up, like this. And then I just do that for however many pumps that I need to have. Another thing I gotta mention, so the type of asbestos that I'm gonna be dealing with today is, in Dutch, it's called vloerzeil. And that's kind of like a linoleum, and it has asbestos on the, like under the linoleum. So I will be looking to see if I find any pieces of asbestos with my visual eye, just what I can see with my naked eye. And I'll also be putting up these pumps to suck the air out, and, well, not out, just to suck the air through here, and it'll go onto the filter, and then I'll be able to see if there was any asbestos in the air. This kind of material is actually really loose, so it comes apart really easily. And there's lots of different materials. Some are harder than others, and so they won't come apart as easy. This one comes apart fairly easily, so the chance that that there's fibers in the air is a lot higher than like a pipe, for example. So that's what I'll be looking for today, and yeah, we'll go see what the containment looks like. Okay, so now we're in the containment. The containment is you got a closet, you got a hall, and a kitchen, and they've removed the linoleum, and they've actually sanded the floor down so that way you can remove all the asbestos properly. So that way it's all the way gone. There's also no glue that was holding the asbestos onto the floor. So I'm gonna flip the camera around so you guys can actually see what I'm talking about. So you have here the closet that they were, where the asbestos was in. You have one of my pumps. This is a pump. That's the closet. You have here the floor where the linoleum was removed. And they've, like I said, they've sanded it down. If you look closely, here in the concrete, you can see where they've actually sanded down the floor So that way the asbestos is completely gone. It's a little bit more sure than just removing it with your hands. This is the decontamination unit. This is it's called the vuilnisruimte in Dutch. It's the dirty space in English. Kind of a weird name, but that's where there's still risk of exposure to asbestos. If you look around here, you have here part of the hallway, and they use a sort of plastic foil material to make a wall on the side to block off the rest of the house. You can follow me through here. So here you have the kitchen. You have my other pump right here. And here they also remove that linoleum. You have these cupboards. They've been taped off. You can see right here there's tape. That way there's no risk of asbestos coming in those cupboards. Even behind the radiator, they've also taped it off. So that way you can not have to worry about asbestos coming behind that radiator. Here they have something called the onderdrukmachine. It sucks out all the air of the containment. That way you have a little bit of pressure within the containment and there's a constant airflow going towards that filter. This filter is completely closed off to asbestos. Asbestos cannot go through that filter. In case there's any asbestos that makes it through the filter, there's a filter on the other side of this filter, and that also is closed for asbestos. So that way you're absolutely sure that there's no asbestos coming out of the containment. This containment is pretty much completely airtight, and that pressure makes it so that way any air that could possibly go outside of the containment is actually getting sucked back into the containment. So yeah, here they've done the same thing with linoleum. They've also sanded down the floor, you can see. And so my job is to look for anything that might look like asbestos. But here we can see that it's pretty clearly there's no asbestos. It's almost a bummer that there isn't any that I could show you guys, if there was any pieces left, but they've done a really good job with this containment, so there is no asbestos. The containment has to be as dust-free as possible. So if you look here, there's also no dust even. They've done a really good job with this containment. So this containment will be good as long as the filters are good, as long as there's no asbestos in the filters. So that's pretty much it for this containment actually. It's a pretty simple containment. It's just linoleum that's been removed. They've sanded down the floor. I don't see any major dust that needs to be worried about because dust can stay in or asbestos can be in the dust. So it's a good containment. That's about it for the containment. And then I'll show you once I'm done here. I have to stay inside for 20 minutes. But once I'm done here, I'll show you what I do back in the car to prepare for actually analyzing the filters and preparing the rest of the final inspection. I forgot to mention one more thing. There's something else that I do during the final inspection that I'm trying to actually create, as it were, airflow. I'm trying to create as if there's movement in the containment, like there's a lot of people walking around. So the way I do this is I actually use kind of a cardboard, that's the beeper for the pressure, because one of the zippers wasn't done properly, so it starts beeping. So I use a cardboard, just a piece of cardboard. I kind of wave it around like a crazy man to try to stimulate movement in the containment. And I also use a brush. And this brush I do along the foil wall, just like kind of like this, to try to release any fibers that might stick to that foil because asbestos is kind of staticky, so it sticks to things pretty easy. So I first brush everything off, and then I move that cardboard up and down to try to stimulate as if somebody were walking around the containment, which I am right now, but it's to try to really create air movement in the containment. That way any fibers that might be sticking to something will come free and go into the air pumps. So that's what I'm about to do right now. You do it twice. You do it once when the pumps first go on, and then you do it a second time when the pumps the pumps have already been on for 20 minutes, and that's when I go back outside the containment. And that's why I stay in for 20 minutes. I am now in the space of the decontamination tent where there's still a risk of exposure to asbestos. There's possibly still fibers in here. The chance is rather low, but it's a possibility. And as you can see, I had to seal off the containment. That's a sticker that'll show me that if it's been opened. So while the measurement is going on, the containment is completely shut. It's completely sealed off so nobody can go in. Now I'm going to take off all my clothes and go into the shower space because that's where we decontaminate ourselves. Hey guys, I'm back in the bus now. I just got done with the final inspection of the containment. I showed you guys around a little bit. Hopefully that footage turns out good. I couldn't use this camera because this camera isn't waterproof and I have to be able to shower with the camera. So I used a different camera, so I'm not sure how it'll turn out. Hopefully you guys will be able to hear me. It's hard enough to hear somebody with a mask on as it is, so hopefully you guys can understand what I say while I'm in the containment. I didn't show you guys everything because there's certain things that aren't super important for you guys to see that would have taken a long time. Now that I'm back inside the bus, I'm going to get everything ready for the pumps to come out. That means that I'm going to prepare the slides that the filters are going to go on. I'm going to prepare my microscope, and I'll show you guys all that in a second. I won't show you all the nitty-gritty details of how I do all that because that's not super important and it's not very interesting anyway. But I'm going to do my report now, and my report is just on this iPad, and there's a bunch of information that I have to fill in, such as what kind of material was removed, in what areas was that material removed from, how big the containment is, and such things like that. So I also have to draw a sketch of the containment. So I usually try to draw the entire floor of the building that I'm on. Well, this is a big apartment complex, but I'll draw the apartment that I was in. I'll draw the entire bottom floor of the containment, where the containment was, and then I'll draw the containment specifically on that floor. I'll show you guys what that looks like in a second as well. So yeah, I'm gonna get to doing that. I just finished the sketch that I have to make for my report, and I will post that on the screen right now, so that way you can kind of see what my sketch looks like. So now I'm going to actually write the report itself, where I have to write a description by all of the photos that I took, because I took a photo of basically every corner of that containment. That way, again, if you're not on site, you can know what the containment looks like even though you're not there. So that's what I'm going to do now. So now I've completely finished my report. It's pretty easy containment, so it went by pretty fast this time. Sometimes it takes longer. Basically now I'm done. I still have to set up my microscope and my evaporator, which I'll explain what that is in a second. I'm gonna do that now, and then I'll show you guys what the inside of my bus looks like before we round this thing off. Okay, so now I'm gonna show you the inside of my bus. I have my microscope. I got my microscope set up. I got my evaporator set up. And that's all ready to go. So now I'm ready to take the pumps out of the containment. I still have to wait another hour or so. I have to wait 2 hours. The pumps have to be on for 2 hours before I can pull them out of the containment. But in the meantime, I'll show you this. Usually in my spare time when I'm sitting here, if I'm in the middle of a school semester, then I'll just do homework. If I don't have homework, I'll either bring my laptop with me and honestly watch Netflix, or lately I've been doing a lot of editing, whether it be photos or videos, or I'll bring a book. I mean, you can do anything you want really in this time, as long as you stay on the location, on site. So here is my little office. This is the view that I have every day. So here you got the microscope that I use, and then this is what we call the evaporator. And here you have the slides that I put the filters on once the filters are all ready to go. And I'll show you what that looks like once I actually evaporate the filters, and I'll show you what that means as well. But on this side I have all the, I don't even know what you call this in English, honestly. In Dutch they're called the pump heads. I don't know if it's the same in English, but it's basically where the filter goes into. I have those all over here. I have all my chemicals over here. This is to be able to test different materials for different kinds of asbestos. I put it on the slide, and then if it's asbestos, it'll light up in a certain color, depending on what kind of asbestos it is. And this is what I use for the evaporation. So this is just some clickers, some counters that I use when I'm counting any fibers that I find. And this is it's kind of like I don't even know exactly what it does, but it's kind of like a glue for the slide cover. It just makes it so that way you can cover up the filter with a slide cover and the slide cover doesn't keep falling off. This is acetone, and this is to evaporate onto the filter to make it see-through, so you can actually use the microscope with it. So it's literally like an office in a way. I have my own little printer for printing my reports for the people for the clients, I guess I should say. I'm out of paper. I gotta get some more paper. Oh, this is my job location today. So this is how it looks like from a distance. It's pretty roomy in there. This thing is called, in Dutch, is an e-daykost, which is an identification cupboard, but yeah, we call it something else probably in English. I just don't know what it is. But it has a microscope in there. You can tell right there. There's a microscope. And this is for looking at different types of material. Using this e-daykost, I can actually determine if something has asbestos in it or not. So I'll actually pull out the fibers, I'll put them on the slide, and then I'll use those chemicals I was talking about to make it color in a certain way. And if it colors, then it's asbestos. If it doesn't, then it's not asbestos. I can open the back doors here, and I have a lot of storage space in here, so I have some traffic cones in case I ever need to make sure that nobody takes a parking spot that I need to be into to be close to the containment. Because if you look here, I have power that I'm hooked up into, and this is just a place where people put their bikes. But let's see, right over there, this one, that's where the containment is, and usually I get power from the containment. Okay, so I created really fast. I have about 10 minutes before I have to go get the pumps out of the containment. Once I get the pumps out, I have to go fairly fast because I have that job right after this job. So I'm actually gonna show you right now with one of those pump head thingies that I use for the pumps. I made a fake one right now, just one that I've never used. I haven't put any air through it or anything like that. I haven't put it in a containment. I just made this right now, and I'm going to actually show you what I do with these filters after I pull it out of the containment. Just because I won't really have the time to show you with the actual pump heads that I have right now in the containment, because I have to go fairly fast. So I want to show you really fast what I do. You have the filter that's sitting right on top there. I always go ahead and grab this filter. I have it now. I put it on the slide, and I put the slide right underneath the evaporator. Then I put the acetone with a little syringe on top here. As I push the acetone in, will actually make that filter completely see-through. Just like this. So now I can actually use it with the microscope because light can go through it. Once that's done, I'll take this other liquid, which I don't know how this is called in English, but in Dutch it's Keostina. I'll take this and I'll actually put a drop of it on here. Just like that. Then I'll take one of these little slide covers, this little glass plate, and I'll put it on top here. And then I'll push it down a little bit, that way the liquid touches all of it. I'll hold it here for a second, and then this plate right here that I'm touching with my other finger, this is really warm. It'll actually dry that kind of glue chemical, and voila! Now I'm ready to go. Now I can actually look at this underneath the microscope. Obviously I have no need to, just because this is not a real filter. I mean, it's a real filter, but I haven't used it. But yeah, so that's how I do that. Okay, I just got done evaporating the filters. I just got the pumps out and then evaporated the filters. And now I'm gonna use my microscope to actually look at the filters and determine if there's any fibers on there. And if they're allowed to have a couple of fibers, because we can't tell with this method if it's real asbestos or not. We just see fibers. To know if it's definitively asbestos or not, you have to put it underneath a SEM microscope, which is really expensive, so not a lot of companies want that. So usually we do this, where we can't tell if it's really asbestos or not, but there's a couple of things, a couple of qualities that we can look at to determine if it's like asbestos, depending on the length, the width of the fiber, and that kind of stuff. So I'm gonna look right now to see if there's any fibers, and if there are fibers, how many, and determine if the containment is safe to take down and to actually go into those spaces without that mask that I had on. So I'm gonna do that right now.
So much later that the old narrator got tired of waiting and they had to hire a new one.
So this one, in the 100 different parts of the slide that I looked at, there are 2 fibers, and that is a number that is allowed, so this containment is good. Now I'm gonna go tell the supervisor of the location that the containment is good, that he can take down the containment and clean everything up. I'm also gonna clean up my own stuff right now, and then off to the next job. So I'm back home now. It's way later in the day. I went to that second job. It wasn't super interesting, so I didn't want to post anything about that. It was just an outside inspection, super easy. Well, it was big. It was 2,000 square meters, but pretty easy job. Nothing interesting to really film. So yeah, sorry, I'm not gonna post anything about that. But afterwards, went to Charlie's parents' place and had dinner. That was delicious. It was fun. And now we're back home. Sorry that Charlie has not been in this vlog at all. She had a night shift last night, so she was sleeping at the hospital, so I didn't see her at all this morning, and obviously during the day I was gone, and now she's actually in the shower and getting ready for bed. So, no Charlie in this video, sorry. Apart from that, that's about it. I'm gonna call it a night, gonna head to bed, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Ciao.